Hello, listeners. Jordan here. I just want to let you know that you can listen to Nighttime early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
You are listening to Keep Canada Weird, a weekly weird news roundup by the Nighttime Podcast.
Handsome Aaron Airport. We are back for what may be the weirdest and probably the most concerning week in Canadian history, and we're going to break it all down tonight. But before we do, let me tell you, I have a special drink, and it is in fact special. I'm drinking a Pepsi Cola, zero sugar, cream soda. I've drank like 5 of these today. That's why I'm falling over my words. They're delicious.
Yeah, you need to take it easy over there. 5 is a lot. Even if it's sugar-free. I think you need to calm down.
I didn't have 5. I'm kidding. This is my first today, but I had one yesterday too. I love them. What do you got over there?
Okay, well, as you know, the struggle is real for me finding sugar-free, caffeine-free drink. So I will say this, I did get something. I picked it up at the gas station today. It is a Fiji water.
Well, it's pretty typical that we get a message about, like, I'm concerned about the amount of like weird drinks and sugar and stuff you guys have. So to all the health critics, Aaron is having a nice cold water.
Yeah,
Good
it's
choice.
a beautiful bottle with a nice logo, nice picture of a flower on it. I'm going to take a sip and let's see how refreshing this water is from Fiji.
The brand name is Fiji, and you say from Fiji. I don't think that's from Fiji, but given everything that's going on in the world, don't even look at the bottle on air live to say where it's from.
Let's see. Coming from Yaquara, Viti Levu, Fiji Islands.
Oh, maybe it is from Fiji.
Yeah, eat your words, man. Eat your damn words. You sitting there, looking your nose down at me with your cream soda, being like, oh, he's got water. And I'm like, oh, it's from Fiji. And you're like, no, it's probably not from Fiji. Yeah, it is from Fiji.
It is. Well, it seems like a lot of unnecessary work to bring the water all the way from Fiji, but whatever. What's new with you? Anything going on? Anything you want to tell us about?
How dare you? You know nothing is new, and you ask me that to humiliate me every week.
Sorry. Just wanted to rub it in.
I'm sorry. I got a lot of problems at home.
Do you mean that? Is everything okay?
Well, I fed my cat earlier, and he's still meowing, so that's a problem.
Those are the good kind of problems at home. Let's get into it. Here's how we'll get the show started. Got a voicemail from a listener named Sarah that we'll open the show with. She has a what she calls a Canadian question. Here it comes.
Hi, Jordan and Aaron. My name is Sarah, and I am calling from the United States with a Canada question. I just moved to Cincinnati, Ohio, and I have come to find out that apparently American youths are using the word Ohio to refer to things that they think are crappy, bad, gross, etc. So my Canada question is, are Canadian youths also saying that? Or is there a Canadian province that Canadian young people use as a slang term to say that things are bad? Anyway, hopefully that makes sense. I would really love to know. Love the show. Bye.
So have you heard the whole, like, that's so Ohio or not in Ohio, or the Ohio kind of meme saying that goes on?
No, that's the first I've heard of it.
Okay. I hear it all the time. It's kind of used in a way that, like, the whole Florida man thing, like this idea that something crazy is always happening in Florida. It's kind of like the younger kids, 8, 9, 10-year-old, may talk about Ohio that way for whatever reason. It's become like kind of like an internet meme. And what she's asking is does it happen in Canada? Yes, I hear it all the time around the elementary school my kids go to. Is there a Canadian equivalent? I couldn't think of one. And I think if we try to come up with one, we may upset some people.
Yeah, I wouldn't dare try and come up with a Canadian province that means something bad, because we love all of our provinces here on Keep Canada Weird. I think we should flip this thing on its ear and have it mean the opposite. So you say a Canadian province, and that means something good. So you can say any Canadian province, and say, that is so Nova Scotia. That is so New Brunswick. That is so Newfoundland, bro.
Yeah, what a PEI thing to do to help them like that.
Man, this slice of pizza is so Ontario.
Maybe that'll grow on me. It doesn't ring true just yet, but maybe it'll grow on me.
No?
Yeah, I think your idea is great, and it kind of speaks to the national movement right now to celebrate and support each other as they go through things that we're never going to talk about on the show, right?
We may have accidentally mentioned them in the past, but we won't talk about them ever again in the future.
Does it start with a T?
I won't even say that much.
Okay. Let's move on then. Before we get into this week's stories, we have Khalifa, who wants to weigh in on something that happened when she was listening to last week's episode. It was another one of, I think we referred to them as like an advertisement eclipse. Here's what happened when Khalifa was listening to us complain about Tim Hortons last week.
One of the things that I find very weird and annoying at the same time is when Aaron would be going all about saying, hey, Tim Hortons is terrible, Tim Hortons is no good, and then you guys are like, okay, we're going on a break, and the ad is all about Tim Hortons and Roll Up the Rim. So, yeah, I don't know. Is it all an act?
Is it all an act? I can tell.
Yeah, it is all an act.
No, I can tell you that Aaron's a good actor, but his toxicity towards Tim Hortons is completely sincere and genuine. We've said it many times. We don't choose 90% of the ads, 99% of the ads. I don't even know they're there. Unless it's my voice or Aaron's voice reading the ad, we don't know anything about it. So it just so happens that Tim Hortons paid to advertise their product on a show that actively, to the point of annoyance, complains about them.
Yeah, which I love.
Yeah.
And I think that makes our complaints about Tim Hortons even more special.
It does. So we've been down that road before with Tim's advertising on our show, but there's another road we've been down before, and maybe this is the story we'll open the show with. For whatever reason, we've talked several times about the theft of butter happening in Canada. There is a news story that was sent to us by a listener named Victoria. It was a news tip sent in. It's an article we can read, but I figure we can open the show with the newsboy. Think you can get him on?
Yeah, the newsboy. Okay, yeah, I'll do that. Well, I'll ask him to do it. Extra, read all about it. Butter bandits busted in Owen Sound.
Sound? What is it? His batteries are dying?
No, he's going through puberty. He's turning into the news teenage boy.
Okay, the news teenager. Do you want to do the article? I kind of rewrote it in the style of like a film noir, so maybe it will suit the newsboy. He doesn't have to read it the whole time. You can read it for him.
No, the newsboy can't do that. That he's too grating on the ears to read an entire article. Although if dared by the listening audience, I might attempt it, but we'll see how many voicemails we get about that.
Yeah, my mute button isn't powerful enough.
All right.
Okay, let us have it. What's happening in Owen Sound?
The air was thick with the scent of desperation and dairy when three men tried to make a clean getaway with a haul of hot butter. But luck and the sharp eyes of an off-duty loss prevention officer was not on their side. It was a quiet Sunday on the Upper East Side when the officer working his shift spotted the trio loading up on ghee, the golden, clarified butter prized in kitchens far and wide. The men weren't there for groceries, they were there for a score, and soon enough they slipped out the door, leaving the store a little lighter on its inventory. The men drove off, thinking they'd melted away unnoticed. They were wrong. By a twist of fate or sheer bad planning, the gang made their next move at another nearby store. And as luck or justice would have it, so did the off-duty officer. Recognizing the butter thieves, he knew they weren't there for honest shopping. He made the call. When Owen Sound police arrived, they found the suspects in their vehicle, the evidence stacked against them, more than $1,000 in butter and another $300 in ghee. A dairy jackpot now turned into a crime scene. The suspects, two men from Brampton, aged 24 and 21, and a 21-year-old from Cowden, now face charges of theft under $5,000 and possession of property obtained by crime. Their plan was smooth, but in the end, it was the butter that got them caught, too slippery to hold on to, even for seasoned thieves.
That was a great reading. I enjoy that story because it's such a bizarre thing. That's like a group of 20-year-olds who are on a butter theft spree. What are they thinking? I've done a lot of stupid things when I was 21 and 24, but I never stole butter.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever stolen?
I don't know how long can you go before you can be charged for a crime?
Listen, it's a statute of limitations here. You're good to go.
I never stole in my life, Aaron. I've always paid, and I tip too.
And you tip? Wow.
Every damn time. But what about this? In this story, I think there's more to it. Listen to this. So there's a loss prevention officer, so like a floor walker, as we'd probably call them, walking around a store, and he sees some people steal, but they get away. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, they go to some other store, and now that loss prevention officer is off duty at the same store and sees those people, and it all sounds like it's happening in the same day. So I kind of feel like maybe he's like a vigilante who's taking his job way too seriously. Like I know, I can see him being like, I know my job is to make sure no one steals from this store, but I owe it to society to get these guys. I'm going to follow them to another store. And fortunately, he didn't try to take them down himself in the other grocery store. He called some of Owen Sound's finest, and they got them with $1,000 in butter. How much butter is that? Did they have a trunk of butter?
Well, yeah, it would have to be. But we've covered a number of butter theft stories on this show, and I'm wondering, nobody has given me an answer yet. I haven't, and if anybody out there has one, what is the deal with butter? Why are there so many butter thefts in Canada? This is happening now all of the time. What is going on?
You normally with a crime you say follow the money. In this case, it's follow the butter.
Everything has butter in it though, so
yeah,
you can't really pinpoint a certain restaurant or food or whatever. There's some kind of underground network here of a butter mob that is working towards controlling all butter in our country.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I've already said too much if I'm even half right.
Let's not solve it. I think at this point, that's a mystery better left solved by the professionals, because I don't think you and I have the right protection to go down that road. Let's take our first break of the night, and then when we come back, we'll get to the week's weird stories. And we got some doozies. We are going to be dabbling in crime stories all night. We have 2 scams, one involving funerals, and we have 2 dumb Canadian criminals. One of them involves road rage, which we always enjoy. So let's take a quick break. We'll come back with last week's weirdest scams. Aaron, we got 2 scams this week to talk about. Again, this is one of the storylines or narratives we followed for years on Keep Canada Weird, is the scams that are affecting Canada's vulnerable and, in most cases, Canada's gullible. We have 2 this week that are both surprised me for odd reasons. One involves work-related scams. The other involves obituary and funeral-related scams. How do you want to start? What do you hate more, funerals or actually working?
Both are tough. Let's start with the working one.
Like, do you want to get scammed finding a job or scammed trying to go to a funeral? Those are the kind of the 2 options we have.
Yeah.
But let's get scammed trying to find a job. So this story of a work scam involves Ashley Valentini. She's a mother of 4 from Montreal who was just looking to make some extra money when she came across an online job ad. The job seemed simple. She was told she'd simply be rating and reviewing travel packages as a way to promote a company. And as it turns out, the job was as nonsensical as the fake reviews that she thought she was going to be paid to post. Here's the story of the work scam.
Clicking on an online job ad took Ashley Valentini down a spiral she is still trying to escape.
And then at some point, I didn't have enough money. I used all my rent money. I borrowed from my mother, and I was panicking.
Valentini is a mom of 4, including 14-month-old twin girls. She works in a school but wanted to take on a second job she could do from home, and she found an offer online.
Basically, you have to rate and comment on different travel packages, tour packages, to data optimization, so that when people book things, it'll pop up.
It turned out to be an elaborate scheme. A trainer communicating via WhatsApp eventually asked Valentini to send in money to reserve tour packages she would rate. And she did get money back the first time. She put in $10 and pocketed $220 through a crypto account.
So that was really what made me just keep going, because I'm like, I'm gonna get the money.
And at this point, you're desperate?
And at this point, well, when I finally gave up, I had already sent $11,651.
In increasingly desperate WhatsApp exchanges, Valentini tells the trainer she has no money left. You can try to apply for a loan from your bank, the trainer replies several times. To Valentini and her family, the losses have been devastating. She's trying to raise money and looking for another job.
I still owe my mother money, and it's, I feel, anyways.
We try to help people by putting these stories out there, but it's, I don't think we've done enough if people are falling for this.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because, again, so many red flags are there at the very beginning.
Well, the ultimate red flag from the very beginning is, what is this job?
Yeah, any job that's asking you to pay something and promising something else.
And leave fake reviews. In this era of AI, they don't need like some mother of 4 sitting at her computer buying plane tickets and leaving reviews and getting paid in Bitcoin and doing your training through WhatsApp. Like, we're going to do your training through an anonymous kind of chat thing that you got to download on your phone. And
it's really,
God,
it's really unfortunate. The stock footage, not stock footage, sorry, but like when they make these stories and they go to the person's house and they interview them and they get them doing something.
Yeah, the B-roll.
The B-roll of them in the background doing something that is as related to the story as possible. So for this B-roll, they had her just scrolling on a computer. And I can just imagine her, like, while they're filming the story, like, why don't you just scroll on the computer and then we'll use that as background footage. And then she's like, yeah, okay. And then while she's doing that, she's falling for another scam at the same time.
Yeah. Just got to send Bitcoin.
Oh, I found another online job that I can do.
This one surprises me because it just seems so obvious. And this isn't like an 87-year-old who's not familiar with, technology. It's shocking. She's not going to get any of that money back. Borrowed money from her mother, $11,000. Come on. It's like I feel terrible for her and for her kids, but at the same time, it's like you got to help yourself at some
these
point.
Scammers prey on people who are in a vulnerable state. So where she is in a situation where she's, financially strapped, and it's it can kind of play with your emotions. You can let your guard down because something sounds like a really great offer and a great way to make extra money, and you can ignore the red flags and then push forward with this. So it's hard to put 100% of the blame on her for falling for this, whereas you and I see it as an obvious scam. But I can certainly understand where she's coming from. However, it's a shame that these scammers are doing this to people. It sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. And I think in this case, what got her was, and this was a smart move on the scammer, is the initial buy-in. She said she had to pay like $10 or $20 and then got $200.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like this is working. So I would like to know a bit more about how it went from I spent $10 and got $200 to I'm borrowing money from my mom. Like there must have been so many red flags before it got to the point that she's
Yeah, and
on
I
the
wonder what her
news.
mom would have thought. Like, why do you need the money? Well, I have this job online where I buy vacation packages and rate them, and then they give me money back. And wouldn't her mom step in and say,
Yeah,
hold on a sec, what?
we heard her try to explain what the job was to the reporter. I don't know if you caught that in the story. It seemed like she didn't even really know what it was. She's like, I just
Basically, you have to rate and comment on different travel packages, tour packages, to data optimization, so that when people book things, it'll pop up.
they just gave her some hogwash that she
Yeah.
believed. And yeah, it's but what about this? Like, I hate fake reviews. Do you ever go to look at a product online and there's a bunch of reviews that you kind of have to question? Like, is this even someone who bought this and used this, or is it nonsensical reviews? Because there is an industry of buying stuff just for the point of leaving like
Yeah.
fake reviews and
Yeah,
stuff.
there is. You see it all the
So,
time when you're looking at a product and you're like, well, no human being would just come on and say this. You know, it's like some of the most
mhm.
unnatural language and enthusiasm that you've ever seen. But yeah,
Hmm.
it's again, we're living in a world now where you can't trust anything anymore.
No, absolutely not. And AI makes it so much harder because someone may sound professional and intelligent, but it's just because they have ChatGPT
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
phone.
It's almost like
So,
I'm looking forward to the time when our entire world is artificial, where we just live, in this, AI kind of simulation, kind of virtual
well,
world.
that's the movie
Yeah,
Wall-E.
yeah. So that way, it's not physically real. So you can trust everything in that world because it's
Mm,
not real.
now it's tough because there's still some real stuff out there, so you're not quite sure.
Yeah, it's a mix of real and not real, but there's enough not real to make you question the real. So I just want to go to the
Yeah.
unreal and live in the unreal world and know that everything is unreal.
Yeah, I got it. Let's go to the next scam. So if getting scammed while thinking you're working sucks, getting scammed because you think you're going to a funeral or donating to, a deceased person's estate or something, that maybe is even worse. So I got bad news for you. Scammers are now targeting grieving families by faking obituaries and tricking people into making false donations. Here's this story: the story of the obituary and funeral scammers. Shame on you, nasty people. Here it comes.
Consumer Protection BC is warning that scammers are now finding ways to get money from people mourning the death of a loved one. The funeral industry has reported fraudulent websites with information copied from legitimate obituaries. Crooks try to get mourners to donate money or to try to sell memorial gifts like flowers. The same scheme has been reported in other provinces as well.
They're finding that, people might be sending them money and then it's not actually ending up with the family or the loved one that you intended to go to. It's going to a bad actor.
There seems to be a few things going on there related to potential criminal misconduct. I would ask if anybody is experiencing this or knows of a particular case where that is happening to please report it to the police.
The best advice: make sure the obituary is posted by a real funeral home or newspaper, or call to verify it.
We truly live in a dystopian time.
Yeah,
if this
we
is
do.
happening.
And even if you look at it and say, okay, this is a donation option for this specific obituary, and they say, oh, make sure you look and make sure it's from a real funeral home. It's like, but how do you really know if that funeral home is real? If the scammers have like a pretty good website that, looks like a real funeral home.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. And generally, like I've been to several like obituary websites that weren't like a newspaper, like to look at a loved one's obituary. Funeral homes usually have this like really sketchy old, like a 10 to 20-year-old looking website where there's like a forum where there's an obituary and people can comment on it. I don't know if you've ever been to those, but it's weird. But this actually isn't new to me, and maybe not to you, because I recall several years ago when I lived back in Cape Breton, there was an opioid epidemic. The drug was Oxycontin. tons of people were selling it and addicted to it and all this stuff in Cape Breton. And I remember the police there issued a warning because what was happening is people were bad people, would look in the newspaper for an obituary to find when the funeral was, to know that the person's home would be empty during the funeral. And they were like breaking into people's homes during funerals and looking for like drugs and Oxycontin and painkillers and stuff. And I recall the police issued some kind of release warning people that make sure your house is locked up during any funerals.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can see this, but I'm giving the scammers the finger. That's not for you. That's for the scammers who do
but
something
it's pointed right at me.
Well,
please stop. You said that you look at obituaries a lot, because we did talk about last week how you like to watch the elderly. Do you like to read obituaries?
No, absolutely not. It breaks my heart every time.
Okay, so you only like watching the elderly when they're alive.
And having fun and happy.
And having fun and being and doing nice things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice, normal things, not weird things, just normal, everyday, elderly things.
Eating ice cream.
Well, that was mentioned by a listener, how their specific elderly kink is ice cream. But yours is broader. You're much more versatile than that. I'll
be honest, I've been thinking a lot about seniors eating ice cream. And we're going to come back to that topic later, because I'm not the only one. So I'm going to wear it with pride, because it turns out a lot of people enjoy seniors and seniors with ice cream.
There's a whole community of people who love watching the elderly, and you're a part of that. And that's a good feeling to know that you're a part of a community of like-minded individuals who love to watch the elderly. Some specific, again, some like you, where you cast a wide net in your interests in what the elderly get up to and what you like to see them do. I think it's great.
Before we move on to our crime stories, I want to clear up something from last week's episode. A listener named Janet wanted to weigh in on our reaction to Justin Trudeau's son, Zav Trudeau's single dropping. I think Janet may have gotten the wrong idea on a few points. I'm going to play her response to our discussion.
Okay.
I will ask, though, before I play it, after our episode last week, did you listen to Zav's tune at all?
I had heard it before we recorded the episode. I had heard it a few
since?
days before that someone had showed me. So,
but you haven't listened to it since? I'm just curious if it grew on you.
No, I haven't listened since. I have no interest.
Okay. Anyway, here comes Janet's thoughts.
Hi, guys. This is Janet from California. Just a couple comments about some things you talked about today. You were saying that Justin Trudeau is the worst, most horrible leader ever. I'd take 10 Justin Trudeaus over. And the next thing is, again, regarding Trudeau, about his son making music. Well, if the kid's got a lot of money, that's great. You know what? I mean, if his music stinks, nobody's going to buy it. If his music's good, then they'll buy it and he'll be successful. I don't really understand what the big hang up is. I mean, there are so many other things going on in this world other than a kid who's rich making music. So I don't know. For what it's worth, that's my 2 cents. All right. Thank you, guys.
I want to tackle this one way. Our issue with Zav's single dropping, it wasn't that he dropped the single. My issue was that he was getting so much media attention as a result of his connection to his father, where there's so many other like talented and struggling artists that would love to be featured on all the Canadian media outlets. But instead, due to some rich kid's dad being the prime minister, he gets the kind of boost that other artists will fight their whole career and maybe never get.
Yeah, if the song was good, if the artistic expression had merit, then we would have approached it from a whole other angle, where it's like, oh, this is actually really good. It deserves to be heard, all these things, but it just didn't meet that qualification. So therefore, we deemed it as a complete waste of everybody's time.
Okay.
But also, she implied that we stated that Justin Trudeau is the worst leader ever, blah, blah, blah. We never actually said that.
No, I think what we said is that there is a lot of people who don't like Justin Trudeau and will go after his son because of him. But we didn't make any comments on like he's the worst. And
no, we don't take a political stance here on that show. It is not what we're here to do.
No, I think we were just expressing the public sentiment, or at least a portion of the public sentiment.
Right, but if a
towards
politician has a child who wants to express themselves artistically, then all bets are off. They're free for the
fair game. Yeah. Absolutely. And did you notice I censored something in her message?
Yeah, we don't want to hear that.
Okay. I thought that was the right decision.
No, I'm glad you did that. Took the initiative.
All right. Let's move on here. We're going to have a quick break. When we get back, we have two of the weirdest crime stories that played out across Canada over the past week. And spoiler alert, one of them does involve Pokemon cards. After this short break, we'll get into that. Handsome Aaron Airport. I love some dumb Canadian criminals committing dumb Canadian crimes. We have a duo of them, but I'll give you the choice. Do you want to hear about road rage in a Tim Hortons drive-thru or the theft of Pokemon cards yet again?
I want to get the Tim Hortons story out of the way. So let's do that first.
Do it. So we got to head over to Edmonton. In the past, we've discussed several road rage incidents that have given listeners the advice to not beep at people for fear of agitating the many maniacs out there. We're going to need to go a step further. We should caution people to not splash maniacs by driving through puddles. Here's the story of what can happen if you do.
This shattered glass on a floorboard is what two Edmonton commuters say is left behind after road rage escalated.
The window was blown out that way and it covered my face, all my clothing. It had gotten in my shoes and in my ear.
On Saturday afternoon, this man, who Global News has agreed not to name because he's worried about his safety, says he was going to grab a coffee with his friend. That's when he says they drove through this puddle on 23rd Avenue and splashed a white SUV beside them.
I would have paid for his car wash.
Jordan Gessner was driving when they went through the puddle. He says the SUV's driver became irate.
He followed us into the parking lot right tight on my bumper, honking his horn.
The pair say they spoke with the people in the other vehicle and continued into the drive-thru. They say the SUV followed them right up until they went to pay for their order.
There was a pop, like instantaneously my window shattered, glass came flying in the car. Like it came flying right across the car onto my seat and on my lap and everything.
This man had pulled up beside us and had shot out the window.
The two say they're still shaken up by the incident.
I've seen a lot, but this is excessive.
They're relieved the outcome wasn't worse.
Glass got in their eye or anything, that could permanently damage somebody. So it's pretty scary.
Gessner and his friends say they've given a description of the vehicle and its license plate to Edmonton police. Police did not respond to Global News' request for comment before a deadline.
I want to break down this one a little bit. One of the guys in the car say like this could have gotten way worse. This could have gone way worse. We could have gotten glass in our eye. Where the other guy said he came up and shot out our window. Like, is there a gun involved in this story?
Well, in the news story, they said that witnesses say that they pointed something at the car and then the window popped.
What could you point other than like a BB gun?
I was thinking a BB gun or something, something like that.
But either way, when describing it having maybe gone worse, I would think glass in your eye is low on the list. Like you could have got hit with whatever was shot to blow up the window. But all that to say, who freaks out over getting like your car splashed?
Someone who just got their car washed.
Do you think that's it?
And they're going to pick up their date, and they're trying to make a good first impression. Maybe they had a stressful day at work, and they're like, "I'm just going to go on this date. I just want everything to be perfect. I got the car washed. Everything is great. I'm on my way," and then splash.
You son of a bitch.
I'm going to kill you.
I do hate this time of year. There's so much salt on the roads and salt over my car, and it drives me nuts. I hate like when I accidentally rub against my car and my whole the whole side of my jacket is covered in crusty, salty, filmy crap. That does bug me, but it doesn't make me homicidal. Kind of what I thought may have happened here is this happened very near a Tim Hortons that has a drive-through. So imagine maybe it's a unseasonally warm day. You go through the Tim Hortons drive-through, you roll down your window, get your coffee, and you continue to drive out of the parking lot. And since it's so mild out, you don't quickly roll your window up. And then a car passes, hits the puddle, and doesn't splash your car, but splashes your face and your coffee. Could that maybe be a bit more like, is that possible? Or am I?
That would definitely cause extreme irritation to someone who got splashed by muddy water when they're inside their vehicle.
Or salty water sting your eyes.
Yeah, everybody's eyes are at risk in this story.
This guy got salty water in his eyes.
So he's glass in their eye. Yeah,
almost in their eye. They gave the victims in this road rage incident gave the police a description of the vehicle and the license plate. Will the police do anything? I have my doubts.
I agree with you that nothing will be done about this. And the fact that it took place at a Tim Hortons, I would like to think that this is the manager of the Tim Hortons that did this, and they are just touting the company line of bad service.
One other part of this story. Imagine the situation where we're the victims, you and I in this car. We drive, we splash a guy, he gives us the finger and he turns his truck around and he's riding our bumper and he's honking his horn and giving us the finger and shouting out the window and all this stuff. In the middle of that, could you imagine you and I then being like, let's still go through the drive-through? Would you not be like, let's get the hell out of here. This maniac in a truck is going to kill us. I think it's ballsy of these guys to pull into the drive-through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would have gotten out of there. There's no Tim Hortons coffee is definitely not worth any kind of risk of violence or
being confined. Like you're boxing yourself in. Like a good piece of advice for people in a road rage situation is don't agitate it further and just get the hell out of there.
Absolutely, yeah. Just run. That's
like hop out of the car and run.
Yeah. Just run with your arms flailing, screaming at the top of your lungs.
So that is a dumb Canadian crime committed by a dumb Canadian criminal. But another dumb Canadian crime that we cover often is the theft of collectible cards, specifically Pokemon cards. This isn't the first and it isn't the second time, I don't believe, that we're going to be talking about the theft of Pokemon cards. But this story is going to have a bit of a twist. Something happened in Manitoba at a place called Hoover Cards. There was the theft of some valuable Pokemon cards, but it only got weirder after that. Here's that story.
You've heard of buyer's remorse, but it's not often you hear about thief's remorse.
When you buy a pack, it might be one in every 2,000 packs that this might show up.
These two very rare mint condition Pokemon cards are safely back inside their case at Hoover's Cards on Main Street. Sunday, owner Tim Hoover says someone snatched them from the display and pushed their way past staff who tried to stop them. He says the hobbyist community made an uproar on social media, asking everyone to keep their eyes peeled and for the thief to do the right thing. And then guess what happened on Tuesday?
A woman come into the store, asked if this was Hoover's Cards, and we said yes. She said that she was paid to drop this package off. It was a very sketchy wrapped package. Very skeptical about it, but when we unwrapped the multiple layers, it was our two cards.
Hoover says it's possible the thief saw the error in their ways, but he says it's more likely they may have realized it would have been nearly impossible to sell these cards as they were graded and had serial numbers.
The thief snatches two Pokemon cards and runs out of the store. I'm not one who is willing to get in physical confrontations with criminals, but I feel like 9 out of 10 thieves who steal Pokemon cards, I feel like I could kick their butts.
I disagree, to be honest.
Could you imagine someone steals Pokemon cards? You don't think I could take them?
I think you're underestimating who's stealing Pokemon cards out there.
Really?
Yeah. And I think a lot of people underestimate their morals as well because they return the cards in this situation. But if there's one thing in this country that's stolen more than butter, it's Pokemon cards because we talk about it all the time.
It seems though, I know it's bizarre. It happens so often, but I think it's just because they're small, collectible, very valuable, and the demand is high. You can sell them locally or on eBay and these kinds of places, so it's probably easier to fence them or whatever the right word is. But in this case, and you heard it in the news clip there, these cards were graded and had a serial number. What it is, for people who aren't that familiar with collectible cards, is you can have your card looked at by a professional who will grade it on a scale of 1 to 10 based on its like condition. And when it's graded, it's like sealed in this thick plastic, and it's given its like a certificate of authenticity that comes with its own serial number. So since these cards were graded, they would be traceable. Would make them a lot harder.
Yeah,
it'd make them a lot harder to sell, because if someone could look it up and trace it back to the owner reporting it as stolen. So that's probably a part of it. But I just think like it's weird though, because if you stole the cards, why would you risk getting caught by returning them unless it was because your conscience got the better of you?
Yeah, I'd like to think that this was a happy ending, a good story. A bad person turned good, but who knows? They have their reasons. I'm surprised they opened the package when the store owner got it. I was paid to give you this, and this crudely multi-layered wrapped package is sitting in front of you. It's like, should I open this? Like, what's gonna happen here?
And also to walk in and be like, is this Hoover Cards? Like, obviously there's a sign out front and stuff. Like, of course, then they're surrounded by cards, and he probably has a tag on.
I was paid to give you this.
I was paid to give you this package. Oh, so you're super guilty of being involved. Like, why would you start with it? Is this Hoover Cards that I'm standing in? Well, ma'am, what led you here?
I'm from the future.
But yeah, he took it and opened it up, and it wasn't cyanide or a bomb or compromising photos of himself. It was his stolen cards. Happy ending.
Yeah, it's nice. What a nice story. The Pokemon cards have been brought home to be purchased by some young boy somewhere who will eventually destroy them.
Or have them stolen from him. Okay. I think that's probably what happened. Let's go with that. So. Now, we've been ending our episodes recently by playing a listener rant. We're not going to do that tonight. Instead, we're going to end the story with a senior citizen eating ice cream story. Is that okay?
It's okay for you.
Well, I gave you a long leash with tire stories. Give me seniors eating ice cream.
I've been giving it to you for weeks now.
Okay, here it comes. This is a listener named Mara. She's from the US, and it turns out that, like me, she has an interest in seniors. In her case, she cannot eat ice cream, soft-serve ice cream, without thinking about seniors. They're everywhere. Here it comes.
Hi, Jordan and Aaron. This is Mara from the States. This is probably going to relate to nothing for the show in the future, but Jordan's confession that he likes to watch old people has really started something, apparently. Because then last week there was Stacy's voicemail about how she likes to watch old people eat ice cream. And even though that's not really my thing, it made me think about how I can't eat soft serve ice cream without thinking about old people. And here's why. So our most recent president, Joe Biden, loves ice cream. It's kind of a joke in the media and all that. And my sisters and I were talking like, oh man, he's so old. He just, deserves to just get old and eat ice cream and be retired and enjoy all the ice cream and soft serve he wants. And that got us talking too about how in retirement homes, I said that every retirement home should have a soft serve machine. And unless there's like a diabetes issue, these old people who are living in these homes should just get to have soft serve 24/7 as much as they want. So now every time I eat soft serve, I can't help but think of old people and Joe Biden. So Jordan, you have started something, and here's my contribution to old people and their ice cream. Have a good day. Bye.
So she gave me credit for kind of starting the senior ice cream thing. That was Stacy, our correspondent from Dartmouth last week that we heard from. And I bet you Stacy is loving the idea of a senior's home where they just have, I guess, like a big kind of common recreational sort of room with like a soft serve ice cream bar, and all the seniors get to live out their last years on this planet, just kind of mindlessly eating soft serve ice cream like a bunch of content zombies. I love the image.
Yeah, I'm worried though that they're going to spoil their appetites and become malnourished.
How much do they need? You should like when you're like 80, 90 years old, you eat a really weird diet anyway. So why not just like
Well, you know because you watch them
I've been
eat all the
watching
time.
it, I've been studying it. But do you like the idea of like a soft serve ice cream bar at a senior's home?
Do I like it? I don't work there, so I don't have an opinion.
I know, but when
You'd
you
have
drive
to
past,
ask.
you drive past an
No,
old
no,
folks
no.
home and someone's like, "Aaron," and you're like, "Hey, what goes on in there?" And they're like, "It's a bunch
What
of
goes on?
seniors."
People die is what goes on in there, sir. What else do you want to know?
You sicko. Okay, sorry. What were you gonna say?
You're not coming in here and watching our seniors eat anymore. You know, you have to talk to somebody who works in an elderly facility. Okay.
Okay.
How do they feel about 24/7 ice cream? Maybe it causes a lot of issues that you don't think about. There's probably a lot under the rug here that isn't being considered. So I think that we should hold out judgment about this potential soft serve vending machine that runs 24/7 until we have all the facts and know what the possible consequences are going to be. We can't just roll in with this machine. It can't just appear and then we walk away and leave the poor workers there with the aftermath.
Yeah, that's a good point. A soft serve vending machine is awesome, though. I worked at McDonald's back in the day, and my favorite part of the job was the end of the night when we closed down and screwing around with the soft serve vending machine. I have put my face underneath it literally 100 times. You want to know what else I used to do when I worked at McDonald's?
Well, before you continue, that is stealing. You know that
I would always pay for it. I think. Well, actually, I have another.
You always paid for it, did you?
No.
Every time that you put your, at the time probably acne-infested face under the machine,
Eat the ice cream,
and suck back all that soft serve, all that McFlurry.
I got a worse story, actually. I'll confess to this as well. Is my job often was to clean out where people sat and stuff, like out in the lobby or whatever. I'd have to go sweeping and stuff. But what I would do before I went out there to sweep and clean up is I would fill my pockets with chicken nuggets. And then I would go clean. And as I was cleaning, I'd just take nuggets out of my pocket. And I would eat, like through a regular shift, I'd eat 30, 40 nuggets.
Oh, God. That's disgusting.
But
I don't know how to feel about you.
This is when I was 18. Come on.
Okay. What else do you want to tell us?
That's it. I think we can wrap this up.
All right.
And-
well, you'll be in jail next week, so there'll be no episode.
Actually, I won't. But maybe we'll let the listeners decide if I get locked up for my confessions tonight. I believe next week will be one of our maybe 2 or 3 weeks of the year where we don't have an episode. There won't be a weekly Weird News Roundup next week. It's March break here in Nova Scotia, and I will be hanging out with my kids, probably playing video games, and most definitely going around the province thrifting.
You have better things to do.
No,
you're beyond thin ice tonight.
Okay, no,
last week you had a Tim Hortons coffee on this show, and then this week, you've regaled us with stories of your thievery and your lies and your obsession with the elderly continued.
My weird house of cards that I've built here. Let's wrap this up. Let's put a bow on this. Our work is done. Let's put a fork in it. Let's tie it up tight and put it away till next week. Handsome Aaron Airport, until next time.
Jordan, bus stop, backhoe, Bonaparte, until next time.
Figure out what's going on with the butter. If you're in a store, kind of hang out near the butter. Something is going on in this country. Is there a connection between butter and the animal uprising? Is there a connection between foreign interference and election interference in the butter industry? Something's going on. You're the guy to solve it.
And Jordan, until next time, I thought I knew you. Turns out I did.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird. If you've got a news story from your area that you'd like to share with us, or have any thoughts or theories or opinions on anything we discussed tonight, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact us by using the voice recorder that can be found at nighttimepodcast.com/contact. And on that topic, I want to give a big thank you to this episode's correspondents. If your voice message was aired tonight, you can email me your address. My email is nighttimepodcast@gmail.com, and I'll get a Keep Canada Weird badge and swag pack sent out to you. I just ask that you wear the badge proudly and responsibly. Next, a big thanks goes out to Aaron for another great night, Nicole for the intro and outro voiceovers, and Monty Data for the outro version of O Canada. And then, of course, a sincere and massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening. Your support makes this show possible. And if you'd like to support the show even more, please consider a subscription to the premium feed, which can be found at nighttimepodcast.com/subscribe. The premium feed costs just a couple dollars a month, but that money will fund the creation of new episodes of the show, and it'll give you those episodes 2 days early, ad-free, and access to a back catalog of episodes. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support the show by sharing this episode on social media. That helps a lot too, and it's free. Your support is very much appreciated. So with all that said, until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and together, let's keep Canada weird.
Keep Canada Weird is written, hosted, and produced by the Nighttime Podcast.